the topic that we're going to talk about here, I think, is the emergence of these non-credible technical suppliers. So basically, the informal sector that is coming up. You know, so we know that these guys are professionals. They do it every day. They do it according to the safety standards and everything. But on their drive back home, there's a DJ who set up this structure that is falling off, that is unsafe, that is obviously impacting their livelihood, the safety of the community, education and skill. The list is endless. So I just want to hear from them what the impact is on the businesses. I'll start with KG, yeah, I think.
Okay. Jamila, I think I have it's a bit of a conundrum for me personally, because when I started Blackmotion Productions, there was no mentor. I had to do it blindfolded. I had no assistance. All I knew, or all I had, was a skill from Tshwane University of Technology, which was just a national diploma. And after my internship, you know, I worked for a couple of great companies. However, you know, at some point, I think I got fired because I was a bit of a rebel, you know, and I just felt that the industry was not well represented. And our mission statement at the time was, the industry, the live events industry is now, it was owned then by a monocultural group. And I just felt that starting a company under that banner or the hallmark was going to change, or was going to bring revolution to the country, which it has, for that matter. So the reason why I'm saying that I believe, for me personally, it's a bit of a conundrum is because these are the same guys who have the same passion that we're talking about here, and who have the love for the industry. They may lack, Carl, you summarized it quite well. These are the same guys who do not have anyone to reach out to. And we can point fingers at the well-established companies who are not reaching out in terms of skills and uplifting of young people who want to enter the industry. So these are people who are hungry, these are people who have passion, and these are people who see an opportunity in the industry that they believe that they can actually make a contribution. So for me, as a 14-year-old business, I do not think I have a right to look down at a structure that is unsafe, knowingly that it could be done better, but as a 14-year-old, I'm not reaching out to an infant and say, no, baby, you're gonna burn if you do not follow the safety or the safety standards of the industry.
I hear you. Hey, H.
Thank you so much. I was not fired like my friend here. I decided. I brought my passion like Carl, but to be honest with you, I feel a little bit put in a corner because I fall in both places. There are those young, passionate young guys and ladies who want to get in the industry, and there's no opportunity. And the only way out is to start something. And if you don't start something, nothing will happen. So they're sitting in the corner thinking, wow, what am I going to do? Because all these big companies, they've closed down the doors for us. Where do we go? Let me just rather build my unsafe structure or use my homemade kind of a system, as long as I get bread on the table. So it's one of those things that we as the industry, we must also look into it, because at the end of the day, it also dents the industry's image by allowing such to happen, but by not giving them opportunities, it's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so just a question on that, on the safety. Do you think, just as technical productions, that if the structure falls, it can kill people potentially? Do we now look at a trusted structure as a weapon, or do we look at it as a way of making a living in the whole scheme of things?
That's a very good question. I mean, but I had to give you guys an opportunity.
Romeo, what's your take? You've got a microphone.
Can you bring a question?
We're recording, so we just need you to use the microphone. So the question is, because a trussing structure like that one is very safe. I know I was here when I was there. If a trussing structure like that one falls in the location, it could potentially kill people. Correct? You agree with me? All right. So now, knowing that, do you look at a truss structure as a weapon or as a way of making a living? Being a professional, if you witness something like that, would you want to be able, where would you stand?
Hello everyone, my name is Romeo Lekoba from a company called AV Direct, like I've been introduced. For me, I think I'll refer to what I heard from a previous speaker, Carl. These things that intertwine, the spirituality of doing things and how things are done and who we are and the trust structure when it's sitting up there. Whenever I set up that thing, I actually speak life to it. I talk to it. I've introduced that to myself, to the company, the team that I'm leading. I've got about 18 permanently employed people for over 10 years. We do things live. We set up mostly under pressure or even if it's on time. Yes, that thing can fall and it can become a serious weapon by taking someone's life. It's a possibility, and that possibility become an accident, and as a leader of a company, you will be taken into account. It's at the same time, the same thing, it's what keeps, it's what makes me 14-year-old business. I've been building structures, I've been connecting electricity, and yes, along the way there have been accidents, and we are in a live situation. Anything can happen the right way or the wrong way. What I can emphasize on is that we, as technicians, mostly we think we are living in our own world. We do things, the fashionable way, and we forget there is this spiritual element that is deep into it.
Okay. Okay, you go.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe just to bring it home as well. We understand the structure of our industry, and the reason why there's 4 black guys here. Oh yes, panelists. So the reason that there are 4 black guys here, it is not the true representation of the industry. 1, 2. If you looked at, okay, can I just use Venezuela as an example to answer your question?
Go ahead.
I am hungry. I have a trust. I am not governed by anybody because, first of all, this industry does not even, cannot constitute itself financially. No one here can tell us what is the market cap of this industry. And Marco was here talking about 3 big companies, including the company that he owns or works for. Similarly to South Africa. And I'm just trying to give you a scenario. If I am hungry, should I use that as a weapon, or should I do my level best that I know, because none of these 3 top or 5 top companies will ever reach out to me because they think I'm disturbing their peace and their economy and their market share, which they don't even know how much it costs. So it's the survival of the fittest, just like in Venezuela. Yes, they are safe and healthy standard of doing things, but we can't chase these guys away.
I agree. At this point, I'm still sitting on the fence. I will tell you what I think later on, but I'm very much interested in hearing what Aubrey Ops has to say. You know, he's been sitting quietly in the corner there. Yeah, I just need to hear what you gotta say.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Aubrey Ndaba of Channel Trading. It is a tough one, the question that you're asking, because at the end of the day, there must be a meal on the table. But you must ask yourself every time you go to a gig, am I comfortable myself to climb on that stage? That's the first question that you must ask yourself. I think if you find the answer as being no, you must call for help. You know, we've got the jokes and whatever, and the JMPD, I think they can come on board as well to help you out, to hear you out. You know, I go to these gigs in the location. I'm sorry, I'm more like pointing fingers. But the things that they do, you know, they'll put up a structure and just put a wire, you know, and the wire's gonna hold like a moving light. And imagine people underneath those moving lights. And every time I go to these gigs, you know, I'll ask them, please, will you do this right? You know, the angles that you get.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know. It seems like it's a very tough thing to do. But now I'm standing here thinking about two different sides of the economy. So in the industry, there's guys who go to school and study this thing for 3 years. KG, you were there. A lot of these guys go there. So if we let these guys continue, because now I'm sending my kid to school to study this thing. But right next door, the DJ who's prominent is doing it, but he hasn't gone to school. So how do we then now strike the balance between the two? And is it still worth taking kids to the TUTs and the SARAs? SARA's a different story though, because they're actually trying to bridge that gap. So is it still worth it to send kids to tech to do the ET course?
Yes, very much so. With how things are moving now, the technology being introduced so much, believe me, if you have a lack of education background or how to do the things digitally, you won't survive in this space. I had to re-educate myself. I had to attend courses from all the service providers. I mean, from being a roadie, a SARA, to becoming a business today that supply the industry.
I hear you, but
education, yes, it's important.
Okay,
it's very much important.
I just need you to put yourself in a parent's shoe, not as a business, a company owner, just as a typical parent who's seeing this thing happen in the same street, in the hood, whether it's Tembisa, Pretoria, or wherever. Would you now do that? Send kids to school?
I think if I have to take, or if I have to advise, if you take your child or your little one to school, they will do things differently than what is happening, what my colleague is complaining about, of setting up things in a wire, in a shortcut manner. So school really does play an important, but the right school, not,
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I hear you. You look like you're gonna,
on that one, I think it's very important that we make it very clear.
Okay.
Education is very important for these things. I always tell people, you can't just, because you are a friend and you are a nurse, just because you are a nurse and I love what you do, the following day I can just walk into the hospital and put injection and start giving people injection. They will die. So it's important that you go to school, learn the tricks, learn how things are done properly, so that even if there's any eventuality of the structure fall, at least you've got a baby to say, I did 1, 2, 3 based on what I've learned from school, not from what I learned from somebody next door. Thank you.
Understood. Do you have a point? I just want to wrap it up quickly, so maybe I'll let you. Are you done? Okay, so then knowing what we know now, would we now say we'll stop engaging people on Facebook, maybe have SAICA and the TPSA involved with the cat sitter and maybe a guy like Brafredi to come and sit in? Because obviously I agree with you guys, we can't just kill those companies because those families have to eat. But at the same time, we have to protect the standards of our industry as a whole. So just quickly just touch in a way forward what we think would probably work in the country.
Okay, so firstly is to build a sector integrity, and secondly it's sector regulation. So currently the regulation body exists on Facebook. So if there's a bad structure, somebody comes, takes a picture, and we all comment about it. So we ridiculed your attempts. So you are getting sidelined. So one thing is regulation. Secondly, we are such an obscure industry that if, for instance, you are applying for something and they ask you to choose what sector you belong in, you don't find it there. You end up choosing arts or engineering, but that's quite broad. So I just think, Sire, we have a lot more responsibility, and we shouldn't sit here and pretend like we're sitting at the top of the food chain. All of us here are struggling. We can give you great numbers and tell you shows that we've done, but deep down we know that a bit of long-term equity finance can actually help us. But that will never happen if there's no regulation, there's no identification, or our engagement with the government is not, you know, as maybe Dr. Nyatela, let's use your approach. But then we are so fragmented and very egotistical, by the way. We could never sit here and agree on formulating anything. Prof. Oliphant was here. How long have they been working on that white paper? What contributions have we made to the industry? What are the outcomes after 5 years in the Defredi of sitting in these conferences that really help us? What can we quantify a legislation with the government?
Okay, is that your point? Okay, so that was going to be my next point actually on the agenda. I remember it was last year this time. So we went to the DTI offices to have a meeting about the CSD and what you just touched on right now. It hasn't happened, the meeting hasn't happened, and I know Prof. Reddy's been trying very hard to get it to happen. What is your take, Romeo? What is your take? Is the government letting us down? Is the government dragging their feet? Is it deliberate? Is it a white paper thing that has to change? Or, because I know right now, standing here, I feel like it has to happen now. Because if KG says all 5 of us standing here are struggling, that means we've been struggling. You've been struggling for 14 years, and your help, your savior, is actually in their hands. You know, it could actually come here, and you could employ more people. So just quickly touch on what do you think about that?
Definitely yes. I think the greed and the corruption that has taken over in our country has just made things to go very, very, very bad. We're finding ourselves, the people who become those who are supposed to give us opportunities of work, meaning events that are many out there in different government departments. They are one, they don't know us. They will take out the scope of audio, stage, lighting, LED screen, and mix it up with the catering and appoint a catering company. And they tell you that we have a body shop, and in that body shop you have to speak to Mama Tuli there. She'll be catering, and she will give you all the information, and you will have to go and set up. They're failing us badly, and it's still happening. But now what I've noticed is not even a question of them not wanting. I'm talking about the officials who are sitting in the right offices. It's now the element of greed, because they've noticed how much the invoices or what it cost us to set up the production, the equipment that we do out there, then they actually manipulating the system by appointing people who are clueless about our services, our solution, to give someone who knows nothing. That person will come to you, I don't know anything about this. You know, you can, and they think we're magicians. For a job of, I mean, for example, the president is going to be, inauguration very soon.
Yeah.
Believe me, we're all quoted at the same rate, but I'm telling you, if you can go into the books, the person who's been appointed has cutted corners and badly.
It's not even a technical supply.
I'm talking now from the highest level office in the president office. We are now in 2019. You know, it's bad. It's unfortunately, Brafredi has been singing and chanting alone. Along the way, we thought he was not, in a normal state, but he was fighting for us. I mean, we came from his struggle. We came from his attitude, and we became what we are. And yes, the biggest employer, which is our government, is not understanding us. I hope
all right.
things will turn.
It's actually a very serious, sensitive issue because of the non-consideration by the government to us as black companies. To be honest with you, if you look at the jobs that we do, I think we're only getting the crumbs. The real people who are getting the jobs are Sister Betty, Mang, waiting for the tender because they know somebody somewhere who will give them the budget to say cost at this much. And then, like he said, on the spec that we always get, I'm talking for myself now, most of the requests that I get is people who are doing catering or deco, and the whole list is about table, chair, napkins, forks, whatever. On the smaller line, there's AV stuff there. And we need to fit ourselves in there. And it's very painful as AV companies that we don't have this say and decision on who does what and how equipment is in there. You check the spec, somebody who wrote the spec, they don't even know what they're talking about. It's very painful. Thank you.
Okay, Proud?
Okay, firstly, I'd like to commend Ubabnyatel for the work that he's been doing for the past years. And the first time I attended this conference, I asked people, let's take resolution. If we take resolutions and take them to whatever the higher power that may be, had we started then, we could have been, whatever we're talking about now, about the guy who knows nothing about, the inauguration and all that. We shouldn't be having this conversation. We should be asking Uguti, KG, hold that side. Nemalili, hold that side. But let's join together. This is our country. This is our president. But just because they know Uguti, we are so scattered. I can't even start describing the way we scatter. Like, man, if I come now to you, I tell you about the job, KG is going to have a problem. Why don't we all together, even if it's 5,000 rands on the table, Sibambisane, we all, this white business, they didn't start overnight. I know, this white business, they used to gang up against Kia House. Kia House will code and Kia House will get the job. And they will come in. But Tina, we cannot do that. Yeah. And immediately I start to be jealous of whatever you have. Then there's a problem. We won't go anywhere. Let's unite together. Uvelemla from Netherlands, he said, let's all, suppliers, producers, let's all work together. And unfortunately, I'm so that I have to mention color, but I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the guys that dress in black, like everyone was saying, walking around the backstage, sleeping in flight cases, inside and on flight cases, long hours and everything. These are the people that do that. And you can already see the challenges that we are facing on a daily basis in our lives.